This week on Another Movie Podcast, Matt Reeves finally decides what he's going to do with Ben Affleck's Batman script.
Rumours circulate about Quentin Tarantino's next film.
And a Hollywood legend comes out of retirement to play in Martin Scorsese's The Irishman. Hello and welcome back to Not Another Movie Podcast. I'm Sean Pierce.
And I am Sean Kelly.
And how's your second week of school holidays been?
It's been pretty good. I've I've got to go back to work in 3 days, which, everyone's going to be like, oh, poor you.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I've spent a bit of this week marking, getting classes and stuff prepared. So it hasn't all been fun and games. But look, it's been pretty low and lazy. How about yourself?
It's been a good week, actually, and I think I've broken my all-time record. I've watched like 7 movies this week.
Oh my god, that's very impressive.
There's some that I'll review, there's some that I'll just skip over because they weren't worth mentioning.
Okay.
But
You
yeah,
have to mention them at least. Mention them for the fact that they're not worth mentioning.
Alright, cool. I'll do that at the end of the show. But yeah, I reckon I broke a new record this week, 7 movies. I tried to watch one a day.
I was going to say, is that a movie that's pretty not one 7 in a row?
Yeah,
That'd be impressive.
yeah. So one of them was a kids' film, but the rest were all were movies that we'll discuss later on.
All right, cool. Was it Baby Boss at all?
Yeah, I have seen Boss Baby. Yes.
Oh, Boss Baby. That's right. We talked about that before.
Yeah, I have
we
seen
can talk about that
many of times. But I did watch one that was called Baby Driver. So.
Okay, we'll definitely talk about that.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that one.
Mika's just obsessed with watching clips of Baby Boss on the YouTubes. So I'm like, what is this movie actually about? So I looked up the plot, and it seems completely nonsensical to me. I can't make heads or tails. But anyway, that's another. If you've seen Baby Boss, good on you.
Boss Baby.
Boss Baby, yeah, that's right. I've got to say, I'm excited
Baby
about one
Boss
thing.
Is his brother.
Baby. I've been reviews for the War for the Planet of the Apes have started coming in, and I looked at the site where I look at the reviews, and it's got the cast list, and like midway down the cast list, there's a bit that's blacked out that says spoiler. So now I'm really excited.
Well, I'm worried now that you say that because the film opens this week in the US, but we don't get it for another 2 weeks. So I hope that spoiler doesn't get spoiled.
Yeah, exactly right. So well, just keep your heads down, guys. Don't listen to any movie podcasts or anything like that because you might just get it spoiled.
I fucking hate when that happens.
Yeah, exactly right. Sons of bitches. Yeah, probably will.
All right, well, let's kick into the movie news, shall we?
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
All right, Matt Reeves has decided this week that he's going to ditch the script that Ben Affleck and Jeff Johns has written for the Batman film.
Which I really wish I was in there for that meeting.
Yeah.
I wonder if Ben Affleck was there. Like, here's this script I've been laboring over for so long. Even though everything that's gone wrong with Batman and all the cop that I've been flack that I've been copping, I've put my heart and soul into this, and Ben Reeves just kind of like casually pushes it off the side of the table into a bin.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I would actually love to read it. I hope one day it does get leaked.
I'm sure. Yeah. Or it'll go off for auction or something like that. Yeah, because I'd be keen to know what Affleck's take on it was. I'd love it if it was like 60s camp Batman. I don't think it would have been, but that would have been great.
Well, I wonder how much everything all ties in now, because if, Jeff Johns also co-wrote or did a polish on the Wonder Woman script, and I'm guessing he did the same on the Justice League script.
Yep.
So you would think that they would all be somehow connected, but if he's going out and doing his own thing, does he still have to have that connection? I guess he would, wouldn't he?
Well, look, in a perfect world, absolutely, but the DCEU is anything but a perfect world.
Yeah.
I just want a good movie. I don't care about connections to the other films in the DCEU.
Yeah.
It's not the draw card. In fact, as far as they can take them away from some of those movies, the better.
Well, the one person who will be disappointed is Joe Manganiello. I think that's because he's playing Deathstroke, and he was going to be the main villain in Affleck's script. So whether he's still in this film or whether Deathstroke is still in this film, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That would be very sad. Although the guy's married to Sofia Vergara, I think he's absolutely fine.
Yeah, he's still winning on that regard.
Exactly. I don't cry too many tears for that D&D nerd.
But I'm still sure he'd still love to be in a Batman film.
Yeah, exactly right. How cool would it be? He had the armor on and everything.
Yeah. So, no, it's going to be interesting. As I said, he hasn't put a foot wrong by the sounds of it with these 2 Planet of the Apes films. So, If he wants to go up and change everything, in Matt Reeves we trust.
Exactly right.
Yeah. All right. Well, continuing on in the DCEU world, they might have narrowed down for a director on the Suicide 2 Squad film, and that is the Shallows director. Now, pardon my pronunciation, Juan Colette Sierra.
Perfect.
Yeah, he's come out to be the front runner on this film.
Yeah, which is rather interesting. The Shallows made a bit of a splash, if you will. Yeah. I think it's quite good. I mean, he does tension very well, so hopefully there'll be some tension in this movie as opposed to the first one.
There seems to be a big wave of these Spanish/Mexican filmmakers hitting Hollywood at the moment.
It's like people realize that people outside of America can direct big budget films.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're cheaper.
Yeah, well, this guy was renowned for bringing his films in on time and on budget, so I'm guessing that's something that they want. And The Shallows was actually very good, so I really enjoyed that film.
I just love that, like, that's a thing. Like, you do the job on the time that you said you would do it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You deserve some kind of award.
But I'm still really disappointed that it's not Mel Gibson.
I am... just from a curiosity point of view, I can't imagine how he would direct anything, because all of the films that he's directed, it's been like his baby, his vision, the story that he wanted to tell. I can't imagine him on we pay you, you direct our movie kind of deal.
Yeah. But look at the level of violence he can bring to a film.
That's true.
I have a feeling that this film will be R-rated. I think they're going to go with an R-rated Suicide Squad. I think they'll follow the trend of Logan and Deadpool. And if there's one DC property that can lend itself to an R-rated feature, it would be this one, in my opinion.
Or Justice League Dark, but that's in the dark, so who knows when that's happening.
Yeah, that's right, if it's even happening. So
exactly.
All right, well, there's a worrying piece of news that came out of the Justice League film this week. And the British actor who is playing Steppenwolf, basically came out. His name is Cyan Hinds, I think his name is. He came out and said that he actually never met any of the actors in the Justice League.
Can I do his voice?
Yes.
Do a British voice, right? This is his quote. No, I don't know whether they're all afraid to come and meet me. No, they weren't. But really, it's imaginary. You do it with a green screen. That was another challenge. You could say, yeah, because it was quite fun. But they're very encouraging in what you do, suggesting, look over here, imagine that, do this here. They're coming at you now.
I didn't know Austin Powers was in this film.
Yeah. I'm on the green screen, baby.
Yeah.
So he never met any of the cast, which is a worrying...
That is a worry. One of the main bugbears for me was the last scene in Batman v Superman. It just looked all fucking green screen with the fight with Doomsday. And by the sounds of it, it doesn't look like they've learnt their lesson with this either. We
even said the trailer looks, the entire thing is shot on green screen.
Yeah.
These days, the audience is very discerning. They can tell these things. You've got to have green screen, and good green screen you can't really tell. But good green screen is usually mixed with practical elements.
Mm. And the fact that he never met any of the cast, or he doesn't share the screen with any of the casts, is concerning, because we might just get another Doomsday fight where they're just fighting this imaginary motion-captured beast.
Yeah. I was going to say, there's going to be no chemistry between these characters, no relationship whatsoever. He's just like the end of dungeon boss.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. And it's disappointing because we gushed over how well Tom Holland and Michael Keaton shared the screen together in Spider-Man. And the fact that these two aren't even going to meet is really pissing me off.
You are angry about this.
I am angry because every film now, we just get these stupid, dull villains that cause havoc, then they kill them at the end. Where what we saw last week with Spider-Man...
I call it the Maul principle.
Yeah. What we saw with Spider-Man, obviously they've kept the Vulture alive so we can continue a story. So I know Steppenwolf is a step towards Darkseid, no pun intended. But I would hate to just see these villains just pop up and get killed straight away. Yeah,
exactly right. Marvel have been making that mistake for a decade, so surely DC can pick up on that at least.
Yeah, build an arc. Build a story where, obviously we got the first act, which can be one film where you go against your villain, and then go deeper into that villain and why he's doing everything in a second film, kind of what they did with Joker in the Dark Knight, and then go for it in the third film. I don't know why we need to kill these villains every time we see them.
Well, you know why they had to kill off the Joker.
Yeah, but they were planning to continue his
man.
story in The Dark
silly.
Knight Rises. Yes.
Yeah, but it's like, I always think of the classic Darth Maul in this. You had this awesome villain, this great setup, all this great media around him, and then gone. And then they introduced Dooku in the next film, who basically played the same role, but was not nearly as fun.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm saying. The second Star Wars film could have been so much better if Obi-Wan was just hell-bent on revenge on Darth Maul. You could have set up this massive story, this massive battle at the end, where he gets his revenge for killing his mentor, but no, we fucking kill him off after 5 minutes that we've seen him in the film.
Yeah. Oh. So let's just hope. Let's just ran over. Let's just hope. Maybe Steppenwolf lives.
Yeah,
maybe he goes on in the next film to actually meet the characters. Who knows?
It's doubtful. But,
it is doubtful.
Who knows? All right. Well, stepping away from the DCEU, and now we're going to go into the Tarantino universe. He's been pretty quiet since he came out a couple of years ago and made The Hateful Eight. He generally likes to do his own thing, takes his own time, work out what film he's going to do next. And this one came as quite a surprise because this is the last thing I was expecting him to do. And he's going to do a unique take on the Manson family murders.
Which I find interesting because surely this won't fit into speaking of the universe, the Tarantino universe.
Yeah, it is, and it's completely different to everything he's done before because he's never done anything that involves true crime. He just creates his own stories and creates his own world. So for him to actually have to play in a real-world scenario with a story that's not his own, it's going to be very interesting.
Do you think he wants to play Manson?
I reckon he could. Because I don't know if you've seen photos of him lately. Like he's grown out his hair,
that's what I mean.
And it's all a bit grey and a bit black. And Charles Manson does have that type of hair at the moment. So
he can play like modern Manson telling the story of what happened.
Yeah, well,
it's really creepy though. Like he probably knows Roman Polanski. He's probably met him.
Yeah, well, speaking of Roman, is that part of the story centers on Roman Polanski's wife, Sharon Tate, who was heavily pregnant at the time and was brutally murdered along with 4 others by Manson and his followers in 1969. So Charles Manson never actually did the murdering himself. He was just able to build this cult that he'd send out and he'd go and kill these people.
Do you know what his goal was?
No.
He wanted to start a race war. He was going to murder these people and then blame the black population and try and start a race war. Yeah, that was his ultimate goal. So, a messed up story. So, look, if anyone can direct a film about it, it's Tarantino. It's probably going to be difficult to watch, though.
Yeah, no, I agree. And he's trying to get some big-name actors to come and play in this film, and that's the likes of Brad Pitt, Jennifer Lawrence, and Margot Robbie could possibly feature in this film.
That's big.
Yeah, there's some pretty good names there.
Yeah, if he makes this film, he does it well, and he gets those names. This could be a massive movie because it has everything that people love. It's got murder, it's got cults, it's got like Hollywood behind the scenes kind of stuff,
and it's Quentin Tarantino. This could be big. And Brad Pitt was so damn good in Inglourious Basterds. I'd love to see him re-team up with Quentin Tarantino for this.
I'd like to see him play Manson, which he's probably, to be honest, he's probably a bit old to play young Manson, but even still, I think because he needs that charisma, but also that kind of edge. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do.
Yeah, and the fact that this is Tarantino's, I think, second last film or third last film, I'm pretty sure everyone will be busting at the seams to try and jump on his last couple films.
Exactly right, that's true.
If indeed he does go into retirement.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll play Sharon Tate. You want me to do it? I'll do it. I'll put on a dress.
And you'll get pregnant.
And I'll get pregnant. Yes, that will happen.
Yes. All right, well, a couple of weeks ago we spoke about the Scarface reboot had finally found a director, David Ayer. But that ended pretty quickly because now David Ayer has has dropped out of the film due to his script being too dark for Universal's liking.
I like to think that it was literally too dark because that seems to be what he does now. Just like you can't actually see what's going on screen because everything looks too gritty.
I don't know how they can say it's too dark. It's a goddamn Scarface film. Haven't they seen the one with Al Pacino? That was pretty fucking bloodthirsty. I remember a scene where a guy's got handcuffed in a shower and a guy comes in with a chainsaw and cuts him up. How much more darker can you get than that?
Maybe it's not a violence dark. Maybe there's some other darkness going on.
Yeah, possibly. While the guy who's still attached to play Diego Luan is still in the role, and obviously it's still going to take place in West Coast Latino gangster LA scene. But this is the second director now to drop out, with Antoine Fuqua dropping out earlier this year.
Which would have been good.
Yeah, so interesting to see who's going to take the reins on this one.
Yeah, look, it's such a specific property. I'd love to see Quentin Tarantino have done it. That would be awesome. But that would never happen. I don't know. I'm keen to see it though. I'd like to see a modern take on this story.
Yeah, and I would like to see an R-rated film with the Scarface. I would hate for this to go any lower than what the original one was. So
yeah, exactly right.
As I said, I'm quite surprised that they've said it's too dark. So who knows?
Maybe another script to leak online later on, so we can make judgments for ourselves.
Yes. All right, well, there's a film that's building over at Netflix, and it's one that I've been keeping a close eye on because it involves some of my favorite people in Hollywood at the moment.
Joe Pesci.
Yes. Well, Joe Pesci has come out of retirement to play a mob boss in Martin Scorsese's new film, The Irishman. Now, The Irishman already stars Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. Now, I know you're not a big fan of Scorsese. I don't think you've watched any of Scorsese's crime films or gangster films.
Watch The Departed. Does that count?
Yeah, absolutely. Departed
that's
was
a good
brilliant.
movie.
But to have Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, along with Harvey Keitel and another great actor named Bobby Cannavale in this film, it's just got me buzzing, to be honest.
You just go to sleep at night and dream about this cast, don't you?
Yeah. Like Goodfellas, Casino, go watch those two films especially, and then you might have the same feeling, because Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro were in Goodfellas, and they were absolutely brilliant in that film, and they were both in Casino as well. So to have Joe Pesci come out of retirement for this is absolutely great news. And Al Pacino's never worked with Martin Scorsese, and after watching The Godfathers, he hasn't really dipped his toe in these types of film before. So to see him come back into the gangster films will be awesome.
So what's the actual plot for this one?
Well, Robert De Niro plays Frank the Irishman Sheehan, who's a mob hitman with this illustrious career, and he's supposed to be been involved in the death of Jimmy Hoffa. So it revolves around that. So it's an actually kind of true story.
Ah, interesting. Yeah. I just also love the idea that Pesci's going to be playing a mob boss.
Yeah. Well, as I said, if you go back and watch Goodfellas and Casino, there's my homework for you if you can get around to them.
All right, cool.
You will understand why I'm so excited for this.
Now I'm down.
Yeah.
I'll report back.
So, as I said, there's just so many elements of this film that could go so right. But I remember the second... Robert De Niro and Al Pacino first played off against each other in a film called Heat, which is in my top 10 of all-time best films. And then they reteamed for another one. I can't remember what it was called, but it was absolute trash. So, as I said, just because you're getting all these big names together doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a good film. But Martin Scorsese rarely puts a foot wrong. So I'm sure he can put all these guys together and make a fantastic film.
I think his last foot wrong was Shark Tale.
Well, that one last year, what was it, The Mission or something like that? No, it wasn't The Mission. It was the one that had Andrew Garfield in it and Liam Neeson.
Was that no good? The Silence, wasn't it?
Yeah, The Silence. Yeah. Apparently, that wasn't very good. It didn't do too well. All right, but a film that is buzzing at the moment, and they are calling it a monumental colossus achievement, and one of the best films of the year, if not the best, and that is Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk. Now, this film opens up on Thursday, and I plan on taking a day off so I can go watch it. That's how excited I am for this film. They're calling it hands down the best film of the summer, and it is a masterpiece.
Yeah, I'm not, to be honest, I'm not a huge one for period war drama. I've just seen so many over the years. But this looks kind of interesting. It looks like they're taking the whole war thing from a slightly different perspective.
Yeah. Well, I've just got some of the reviews here from Twitter. Dunkirk is chaotic, relentless, thrilling, and one of the most captivating movies you will see this year. A masterclass in its craft. From a ride, from the direction to the cinematography, Christopher Nolan proves that he is one of the great filmmakers of our time. Dunkirk is intense, intercutting 3 stories on 3 different timelines. It's almost a silent film with an incredible score. So, this could be something very different from Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, I like the idea that it's almost a silent film.
Yeah.
That tells me that this is going to be about developing a story.
Correct, and you're developing the story the right way, where you don't have to have characters explain every bit of the story for you.
Yes.
Unnecessary dialogue. He's going to actually just tell the story as a film rather than just as a narrative piece.
Look, there are planes. They're going to try and kill us.
Yeah.
But if they kill us, I'll be dead.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this one. And I actually
Yeah.
thought Planet of the Apes came out first, but obviously not. So, I'm really looking forward to these two films.
And now your boss doesn't listen to this podcast, I hope.
I've already told him I'm taking days off.
Oh, man, you're good.
Yeah. I've got like so much leave I've got to use, so I might as well take them.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah. All right, well, there was an interesting addition to the cast of The Lion King this week, and when I read it, I had to read it twice because I don't think this guy's ever been in a film before, let alone lend his voice to an actor, and that is the comedian John Oliver. He does a film he does a TV show in the US called Last Week Tonight, and it talks a lot about political things, and he's an English comedian in American TV, and it's one of the shows I love the most. It tells you all the news that happened in that week, and he is a very, very funny man. But he is actually going to be the voice of Zazu, the bird, in The Lion King.
Which is pretty cool. I think it's perfect casting.
Yeah.
He has been in a couple. He's been in things like he was in Community. That's what I know him from.
Oh, okay.
And he's done voices in various different places. Like he's been on Rick and Morty and The Simpsons and such. So he's been around. He's got a very distinctive voice.
Yeah, he does.
I think he's going to make an awesome Zazu.
Yeah. The last person to play Zazu was, of course, Rowan Atkinson. So
Very
you can
cool.
kind of see a connection there.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, it was an interesting choice for me, but a very exciting one because he is a very, very funny man and very, very smart.
Do you think they're going to bring in the Morning Report song that they cut out? Do you ever see that? John Oliver sing a little song.
That would be good. Well, I think there is a part, isn't there? I think Zazu does have some lines in the song. I can't wait to be king.
He probably does. Yeah, but it was really just spoken lines. But still, yeah, that could be cool. I'm excited.
It would be very cool. Well, the new Disney Expo that's been taking the world by storm the last couple of years, I think D23, I think it's called. Well, that just started today in the US, and there's already been some news dropped that The Incredibles 2 is going to take place immediately after the first film, so it's going to be a straight continuation.
Which I'm happy about.
Oh, so am I. And it still staggers me how we have 3 Cars films, but we still don't have an Incredibles.
Yes, well, I put it down to Brad Bird. Because
Yeah,
he's
possibly.
really the driving force here, and I think he's the one who has to sign off on it. And I think he didn't want to go until he really had something that he wanted a story that he wanted to tell.
Yeah. Well, this film, hands down, I personally think is maybe their third best film, Disney Pixar. I still think that the Toy Story 3 and possibly Monsters, Inc., I reckon will probably be some of their best ones. Oh, and what was that? Inside Out was really
that was
good
very
as well.
good.
But this film, and it
Right
was
up there.
It is right up there, and it came out just before the superhero craze really hit. So for this to have a continuation straight after is pretty damn cool.
Yeah, and they released a video game called Rise of the Underminer, where you fight the Underminer, and I was worried that would be they would skip over the Underminer.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that they're gonna because he says the executive producer at Pixar says it's going to start with this big set piece. So we're going to see them, fight this mole man. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. And they said that the last shot of the first film will be the first shot of the second film. So that is pretty damn cool.
And that just means watching them back to back is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, as I said, I don't think my son's watched this. So when it does come out, I'll be putting this one on first and then jumping into the second film straight away.
Yes. I'm excited.
Right, now let's talk about some of the films that I watched this week. And,
just quickly, though, one thing we haven't discussed yet, though, Game of Thrones comes back this week.
Yeah, I know.
That's pretty
It
exciting.
starts on Monday. And HBO just released an hour special of the story so far. So
because I was going to go back and watch the last few episodes.
yeah, I was going to try and find some, because I'm sure someone's done it on YouTube, like a recap of everything so far. But HBO have done that for us. So
great.
I'll be checking that out just before Monday. And then if
awesome.
everything works out well, I'll be able to finish work because I'm morning shift, come home, watch Game of Thrones, and go pick up my son. So it should work out really well.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah, it just depends on what time it drops.
All right,
But,
awesome.
that is the plan so far. All right, so I'll just go through the films that I watched this week. The first one, obviously, was the latest release, and that was Baby Driver. I watched that yesterday. And I got to say, I didn't enjoy this film as much as I was hoping I would.
I've heard that, yeah.
As I said, it's, everything on Rotten Tomatoes is buzzing about it. I think it's up to like 96%. And I love the genre. I love the crime heist genre. But as I said, I just wasn't in love with this film.
Yeah, I've heard it's pretty soulless. It doesn't have a lot sort of going on besides the flashy visuals.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, so which is a bit of a shame because I think Edgar Wright really wanted to win after the whole Ant-Man controversy.
Yeah, so did I. And as I said, it's doing well financially and the reviews are good. But for me, I just didn't love this film.
Yeah.
It was one of the ones that I was really looking forward to, especially after all the hype and the reviews came out. And this film is just, it is damn cool. And the dialogue is very cool. And there's so many great things about it. The soundtrack is awesome. And they have these gun battles and the gun shots are basically in sync with the beats of the song that's playing.
Oh, that's cool.
So that was very cool. But as I said, just the film itself, it was just like, yeah, it was okay. It was nothing to write home about, in my opinion.
Well, it's a shame. I saw the main two actors on the project last night or the night before. They seemed like cool kids, so I hope they're going to do more things. Although the girl's been in heaps of stuff, so
yeah. All right. Well, as I said, these are the films that I watched this week. I watched The Mummy. Ugh, that's an hour and 45 or 2 hours of my life I'll never get back.
So I should be thankful that the cinema saved me when I went to watch it and the projector was broken.
Yeah, absolutely. You can go and high five that projectionist because you saved your time and you got free tickets out of it. So that was a win for you. You can kind of see what they're doing, but now where they're leading to, I don't know. You're going to have to see a couple more films to see this world that they're building. It was cool to see Russell Crowe turn into Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, so that was quite cool. That was probably the only thing I liked about it. But yeah, the less said about that film, the better. Okay. I watched a film with Halle Berry called Kidnap, where she's a mother at a park and her son gets kidnapped, and it's basically her chasing down the kidnappers and getting her son back. You know, that film was okay. You know, it's just a Sunday afternoon film that you can just put on and don't think much about.
So was it all in real time? Like she was chasing them for the entire movie?
Yes.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was. As I said, it wasn't a bad film. It was probably, the highlight of the ones that I watched so far. Then I watched a film called The Circle, which stars Tom Hanks and Emma Watson. Basically a look at how we use social media and the powers that they have over us and all the information they collect. The Circle is basically Facebook, and they're just talking about the repercussions of giving away too much information about our lives. So that was just average as well.
I was going to say, that can't have been a good movie if it was Emma Watson and Tom Hanks and it wasn't being shouted from every rooftop.
Correct, it wasn't that great. I watched an Irish film called The Survivalist, where it's a post-apocalyptic world that this guy lives in. He basically just survives on his own piece of land, and two intruders come into his lives and turn it upside down. This was another film that was raved about on Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll watch it. And I didn't understand what the hype was about, to be honest. The film was just average at best. I didn't like it. I watched a attempt to cash in on the success of The Shallows from last year called 47 Meters Down, where two women go down in a cage to see sharks. The wires on the cage snap. They go down to ground and they got to get out of this cage while big fucking sharks circle around them. The film was okay. Nothing to write home about. I wouldn't even recommend jumping on and watching, to be honest.
Yeah.
I stupidly watched a film with my wife that I should have known better. But it's one of those ones you just go like, oh, fuck it, let's just see what the big deal is about. And that was 50 Shades Darker. My God. What a horrendous film. These two actors who play the two leads, I think Jamie Dorham, who is a great actor that I've seen him in a TV show called The Missing, was it called? I can't remember what it was called. He's so good, but fuck, these two have absolutely no chemistry at all. And for a film based on a book that was so popular, you'd think that the one thing they could get right was the chemistry between these two actors, and it definitely has none of that. So definitely bypass that one as well. And the last one that I watched this week was Cars 3, and that one wasn't too bad. It wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be, and it has a slight twist at the end of the film, which I think if they brought this to the attention of the audience, I think it would have been a lot bigger than what it was, because you could attract a whole different audience, especially with a young female audience.
Yeah.
So if they brought that twist into the publication of this film and the marketing, I thought it would have been a lot bigger than what it was. But the film itself was just okay.
Well, there you go. 7 movies and none of them really floated your boat.
No, exactly. Nothing to be excited about. So I'm hoping that this week I'll just watch one, and that's Dunkirk, and that'll make up for the other 7 that I watched in the week.
Otherwise, our next show is going to be very sad.
I agree. If Dunkirk is no good, then I'm going to be really disappointed.
Good luck, my man.
Yeah. Did you watch anything this week?
No.
Actually, I did see that you took your daughter to a stage show.
Yeah, we went to see which I think is a really weird story. It's we're going on a bear hunt. I don't know if you read this one with your kids, but the whole thing is about them going on a bear hunt and going through all these different environments and then finding a bear and then running all the way back home. And it's like, why is they going on a bear hunt? That seems a little bit messed up. Yeah. But anyway, whatever. It was good. She loved it. She'd never been to a stage show before, so she didn't know. She had no idea what was going on, but she was enthralled. And I was going to bring her to Spider-Man actually on Sunday. We're going to go again, but I ended up not doing it because I thought maybe she's just too young. But she likes Spider-Man, so yeah,
probably a good idea.
Yeah,
and it's funny. Like I've been in a similar situation with you, where you've seen these tales before and you remember all these old tales. And then I reread them to my kids, and especially Jake and the Beanstalk.
Oh yeah, yep.
I remember growing up thinking the giant was the bad guy, but Jake is just a dirty thief. He's the one who goes up and steals the giant's shit, and then he kills him because the giant wants it back.
What a jerk!
He is a jerk. And then the story of Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. She's just a home invader.
Yeah.
She goes in, she steals their food, breaks their stuff, sleeps in their bed, and it's the bears who are the bad guys who chase them out of the house.
Yeah, we're going to have to update these, I think.
I agree. So, as I said, it's funny how you remember these stories when you were children, and when you reread them back as adults, you're like, hang on a second, this isn't the message we want to be giving our kids.
Surely our parents must have thought that as well.
Yeah, I've asked them, and they were just like, yeah. So I don't know if it was a different time back then, who knows, but yeah.
It was a different time when you could break into people's houses and eat their porridge, and it was okay.
But I agree, maybe it is time to rewrite those stories.
I think we need a gritty reboot for all these
I like it.
These fairy tales.
Exactly, we'll just follow the trend of Hollywood and we'll go into the publishing world and we'll reboot all those stories.
Alright, sounds good.
$1 million idea just there.
Oh yeah. TM trademarked.
Sold. All right, well, that wraps up Not Another Movie Podcast. I am Sean Pierce.
I am Sean Kelly.
Well, kind of turned into Not Another Book Podcast towards the end, but...
we're very literary.
Exactly, we cover all bases.
Yeah.
I am Sean Pierce.
And I am Sean Kelly once again.
And let your week be a good week until next week.